Everyone, this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas available in the file pockets near the entrance or on the city's website. All items appearing on the consent agenda are voted on in one motion and vote. Generally, these items are routine in nature and do not require discussion. All items listed under unfinished business or new business are voted on separately. First, councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments. Once all councilors have had an opportunity to speak, citizens will be given an opportunity for comments or questions. Citizens must speak and identify themselves. Each citizen will be allowed one opportunity to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes. Finally, the councilors will be given another opportunity to speak or comment. Citizens who would like to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have an opportunity to do so at the end of the meeting under the public comments section of the agenda. All right, let's see, Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Anybody have any? Let's see. Nope. All right. And council committee, manager's report, which there is none tonight. And council committees.
No manager's report tonight.
Oh, Councilor Green, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to report that we had a great day today at our housing conference hosted by the Housing Committee. And we, there were a lot of great ideas that came out of the 3 panels sessions on the topics. What are some of the current housing challenges in Waterville? What social and economic strategies can we use to meet the demand for housing in Waterville? And what are some actionable solutions to improving housing options in Waterville? We also had a great, there was a very informative keynote from Jeff Levine. And the housing, the whole day will be available on Crossroads to live stream, and we'll also have a summary of what was discussed available for people online on the website or through the city. So I just want to thank everyone who attended and joined the conversation. And we're excited about putting some of those ideas into action. And I also want to report that the ARPA committee did meet on Friday, on last Friday, and I have a statement which I'll read when we get to the orders to approve ARPA funds from the committee, just stating what their recommendations are.
Thank you, Councilor Green.
Mayor, I have a question for the manager.
Go ahead.
Mr. Daly, what is the status of downtown's build? And I'm not harping on it. I was down there this weekend and this past week, and the curb to the sidewalk was started, but it wasn't finished. Looking for, is that going to be completed, or?
They're going to work on it as long as the weather allows for it.
Okay.
They've already paved a large portion of it. I'm not sure all of it, but the paving is temporary.
Yeah.
So that'll be taken out in the spring and replaced with the cobbles that are in part of the space at this point.
Okay, so continued work then until further
Yes.
notice. Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, moving, can I get a motion for a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Councilor DeBrito?
Yes.
Councilor Klepak?
You're on mute, Tom.
Yes.
Councilor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to unfinished business.
I'd make a motion to take the entire agenda by title only.
Second.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
I think he just came back on.
Counselor Klepak, would you vote to read by title only?
Yes, sorry about that. I'm
That's
ready.
okay. Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Going to ordinance 229, 2021.
An ordinance providing for amendment to ethics ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Counselor Foss.
Where did the origination of this occur? How has this become into being? And to what extent has it been a problem in the city of Waterville to warrant these movements?
If I may. The ethics ordinance itself requires that the ordinance be reviewed once every 3 years. So this ordinance was established 3 years ago. We have a standing committee in place on this, and we met throughout the year this year to review the entire ordinance.
Okay. Section X of this particular one talks about adding disclaimers to social media. I don't see a line in there that excludes personal social media accounts.
Excludes them, how so?
So I have 3 accounts. I have a Old State one that has been renamed. I have my current Ward 5 counselor page, and then I have my own personal one that is locked down, and it's just me and people I know. The way I read this, I have to put if this passes tonight, or in a couple of readings, I have to put a disclaimer on my personal pages every time I post.
That is not the intent of the committee. The
Okay.
intent is if you are representing the city in any way, that you would put a disclaimer on there that says that you don't represent, your thoughts don't represent the city or are endorsed by the city.
Okay. So would it be fair to add an amendment to exclude personal accounts?
In my opinion, it would not be, because a lot of the, a lot of this arose from personal accounts that weren't necessarily associated with the city.
Give me a for instance, and use Jane Doe, John Doe as an instance.
Jane Doe is an official in the city and is stating political opinions that are not the opinions of the city formally,
I state
but
opinions.
purports to be, because it's known that that person is an elected official in the city.
I'm fairly well known as a councilor in the city of Waterville, and I state political opinions all day long. You're asking me to put this on every post that is political in nature. Every time I post, whether it's my own personal page or my city page.
That's the intent of the committee.
Then I'm going to motion to add an amendment to exclude personal pages to that fact, that our personal pages are strictly that. Our city pages, and a few of us have them, are strictly for city business. So I'm gonna make that motion to amend that to exclude personal pages.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
You got a second. Oh, Bill Lee. Go ahead, Bill.
Sure. Councilor Foss, I'm wondering if your goal could be achieved by deleting those first 2 lines. And in other words, where it says city officials should add a disclaimer to social media statements, the opinion are the official's own personal opinions. And so instead, the content of this section would be, in the use of personal social media, city officials shall not, and says A, B, C, D, and that's all it would then say. And then you don't get into a question of somebody using their personal account but then saying things that makes it sound like they are representing the city.
But they are. I mean, they're elected officials.
Well, no individual counselor is representing the city unless that counselor has been given authority by the city council to do so. They're expressing their own opinion as an individual counselor, but not to the city at large.
So,
People are gonna, that's,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
I think the provision, if it's written correctly or better than it has been, is similar to that disclaimer that you might see on television programs where they say the opinions expressed in this program are not those of this network or whatever, or not necessarily those of. And
I can
you could
guarantee,
handle it that way.
Go ahead, Rick.
I can guarantee if we don't put this disclaimer, there is a slippery road. And it does say, should. And I want to address Bill Lee, if I may. The way I understand you is your thoughts are strike city officials should add a disclaimer? Those two sentences there?
Yes, that is as one of the possibilities. You could strike those two sentences, and then the section would just state, in the use of personal social media, city officials should not, share classified information, don't violate city policies, and then do not use a city logo, seal, or images, and do not purport to represent the city. So you can say, I, as city councilor from my ward, feel such and such on this issue. If you're doing that, you're not purporting to represent the city. You're purporting to represent. This is your view as an individual councilor, which is a whole lot different than saying something like the city of Waterville's position is such and such. And if you were to say that, then you're claiming that what you're saying is the position of the city. As I understand you correctly, what you're saying is, hey, I may get on there and I'm going to give my opinion. It's my opinion as a counselor, or it might be my opinion as an individual. And that's what you want to make sure you protect. And I think that perhaps deleting those two first lines might accomplish what you're after.
I'll let the discussion continue a little bit.
Eric, you got anything on this? No. Eric's got nothing. Anyone else? Go ahead, Claude.
Well, I thought that some of the comments that the city manager included in his brief on the what was coming down tonight were also very salient. And I'm wondering whether we might just ask the Ethics Committee to review a little bit further in light of what the discussion between Attorney Lee and Councilor Foss and make a couple of further adjustments. I don't know, is there some urgency to get this done tonight, or is this, we've pushed it down the road a couple of times now? Should we think about doing that again?
Thanks for that question, Claude. Steve?
Well, this is just a first reading tonight, and if there are comments and feedback from the council that you want the committee to consider, then they can do that between now and the next meeting.
I think as a body, we've sort of decided that pushing something through on a first vote just to get it passed isn't really something that everybody's been keen on doing. I think having it right the first time before it goes, but whatever you guys want.
Mm-hmm.
I would add that the committee has been meeting for upwards of a year on this. We've had it reviewed by the city solicitor 3 times.
We're about to have them reviewed a 4th.
Right, so that's fine, but I'm just, it's difficult to get the group together and to get a quorum, I will say. So we can certainly postpone the first reading, if you wish, or we could.
I think there's some actual language in there. I mean, if you want, one statement on a Facebook page that says the views expressed are not those of the city is very different than asking somebody to put that on every single post that they put up that might be considered political by somebody else's standards.
Well, I will say that if the amendment that City Solicitor Lee gets put forward, that takes out the requirement for the disclaimer statement on social media accounts, and it only puts in place that a city official shall not share proprietary or classified information, shall not violate city policies, shall not use the city seal, logo, images, and purport to represent the city.
If I may.
Yep, please.
Yeah, and I see that point. I mean, I look at it as a business, you know, I don't run around running my company logo that I work for around and giving away trade secrets and all that good stuff. And the city of Waterville is no different from any other business in that respect. It's down to, you know, I'm going to be an ethics violation next week. Actually, probably going to be tomorrow, okay, by others' standards, and it's a to and fro. You know, Jay may put something out tomorrow that I don't agree with, and he's automatically in an ethics violation on his personal pages. Now, our council pages are different. Yes, I share City of Waterville information, you know, that literally City of Waterville page has put out, and then, you know, anything else that I think is pertinent to Ward 5 and so on and so
Right.
forth. So, I'm going to retract my amendment and replace it with Mr. Lee's.
The removal of the first two
The
lines.
removal of the first two lines. Not that I don't want to bother ethics again, but given that they've done so much work on it, I think it's just an easy fix to the situation.
Here.
I'll second that.
Anybody else? Oh, Councilor Green?
So I'm just wondering, to the question that the city manager raises about that first question, or maybe we need to just vote on this amendment first. But I do agree with Councilor Frankie that he makes some good points that we should address, including why the statement was deleted regarding structure of city government, and also his substitution for shall for should, I think, is clearer. So I would move to make those changes.
We have an amendment on the floor, so I would suggest that we
You'll have
take
to
action
vote on this amendment
this.
first and then the other one. Then you'll have to add.
Okay.
Then you'll have to ask for an additional amendment.
Right, unless Rick wants to add those to his amendment.
Rick, you want to add those to yours?
No, I don't want to add shall to this.
Okay.
That would put back in the two lines if I amend that to put shall instead of should, because shall legally terms is you will,
Right.
not you could. You should. You could or you couldn't. Right now, the way, even if this amendment is struck down, should means that you can or you don't have to. Shall means that you will, and that's just how it is.
Okay, so I guess I don't want to, I think that the language should say shall, so I don't,
Let's just,
I'm not sure I'm not sure I can support the amendment as proposed.
so can we just clarify what we're voting on for the amendment?
Yeah.
So the amendment is to Section 10, social media use for city officials, and the amendment will strike out the first two lines, which say city officials should add a disclaimer to social media statements that the opinions are the officials' personal opinions and not necessarily the opinions of the city of Waterville. So that language would be struck out, and the remaining language with the four prohibitions would remain.
Correct.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Can I get a roll call on that amendment?
Yes. Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
No,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 5 in favor and 1 opposed.
Move as amended.
Second.
Any discussion or further amendments? Counselor Green.
I move that we amend the term should to shall
Where?
in the section that we're talking about. In the use of
No.
personal social media, city officials shall not.
The amendment removed that section altogether.
No, she's
No,
talking
it
in the
didn't.
line below.
I'm talking about, yeah, that's right. I'm talking about
Oh.
oops, there's an extra use in there. In the use of personal social media, city officials shall not share proprietary or
Okay.
classified information, violate city policies, etc.
Instead of should in that, yes, to shall.
Right?
I'll even second that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Clepac, you get your finger up?
Yeah, can we also just include cleaning up the grammar there that,
To get rid of the extra use?
Yep.
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Any further discussion on this amendment? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yeah.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to Ordinance 230, 2021.
An ordinance providing for amend the administrative ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Go ahead, Rick.
I think going along with the last amendment we just voted on for us, the 9.4.3 social media section has a should in there if we're going to hold us to the same, I'm just trying to level the playing field. Everything, if it says should, we're going to, let's amend it to say shall. So that's an official motion for amendment.
Do I have a second?
This is in the administrative ordinance. What section again?
9.4.3.
9? There's only
That's the
6.
personnel ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Personnel.
The administrative ordinance only has 6 sections, and there is no,
My apologies, I got ahead of myself.
no, that's okay.
I thought we had that section in
So
each
there's no
one.
reference in the administrative ordinance, so I think we're,
I'll take my amendment out then.
Thank you.
Sorry.
that's okay.
So, I do have a question, though. What they just voted on for elected officials, why do we not have that citywide? Do we have that at citywide?
We added a section in the personnel policy regarding social media, which we've really never had any sections on that. So that
Okay.
was new for the committee to consider, and they thought for city employees that it was best fit in the city's personnel policy.
Done deal.
Yeah, it's the next one.
All right. So no amendment here. Counselor Frankie?
what exactly, this is the second vote on this, I believe, is it not? What exactly are we amending the administrative ordinance for?
This is the
This is
first
not
one,
taking
Claude.
into-
This is the first vote, and I'm going to get Steve to answer that for you.
Let me find-
Someone has to repeat the question. I couldn't quite hear
Or
what you're
Patty.
saying.
What's the change?
What's the change? In the administrative ordinance, the change, it aligns the method of removing a board or committee member with that laid out in the charter.
Oh, yeah.
So it just refers to the charter for that purpose.
Correct,
Okay, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, yeah. Okay.
right.
Any other questions? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yeah.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to ordinance 231, 2021.
An ordinance providing for amendment to personnel ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
I will make the amendment for 943, seeing as how it is the right one, I think, this time, to strike the word shall and should and replace it with the word shall in the first line, in use of personal social media employees shall not, such and such and such.
Any discussion? Oh, no. Do I get a second?
I second.
All right. Any discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yeah.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. And if I may, Mayor, there are some members of the Ethics Committee here. Kim Lane was the chair. Scott McAdoo was a member. And I believe that's all that's here. But they worked hard. We met several times during the year. And I want to thank them for their input and service.
Thank you all. Go ahead, Steve.
Mr. Mayor, I have a number of observations I made on the amendments to the ethics ordinance that I'd like to discuss with the Ethics Committee Chair, the City Clerk, and Legal Counsel between now and the next meeting.
All right. So they're gonna get together. Anything else? We're moving on to order 247, 2021.
I'm sorry, what?
Order 247, 2021.
Told you I had that funny feeling in my stomach tonight.
Thank you. An order providing for renaming George Edwards Drive.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Angie's getting a road or a drive. Any questions or comments on this one?
well, now we're getting to stuff that is the second reading, is that correct?
That is
Yes.
correct, Claude.
Okay.
And I bet you that Angie is going to be extremely happy that she got a new road. Any questions? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
That was a yes.
That was a yes.
Thank you.
I said yes, I'm sorry.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss.
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to order 249, 2021.
An order providing for authorizing the city manager to execute a ground lease at LaFleur Airport with MEVS Energy Waterville LLC for use as a solar farm.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Counselor Frankie.
would you just review it, Steve, for the audience at home, what some of the discussions that we've had and how this really moves the city forward?
I will be happy to. This lease will be for 20 years for a number of acres at the northeast corner of the airport, off the side of the runway. It's all been approved by the FAA. The monthly rental is $1,600, and the upfront payment by the lessee is going to be $250,000 after I sign the agreement tomorrow, and when they turn on the switch to make the solar farm operational, another $250,000. That total amount will be put into a capital reserve fund for use and development at the airport.
And we're gonna get that even if they don't turn on the switch, right?
If,
Yeah.
oh,
Like
if they don't turn on the switch, there's a bond that covers that second payment, yes.
So the city will still get its money.
Well,
Bill,
Go ahead, Bill.
we will be getting $250,000 payment upon the signing of the lease, and then we get a second $250,000 payment if they go operational. The bond, and I've seen the original bond and have approved it, and it's actually going to be received by the city tomorrow. That is a guarantee of that second $250,000 payment if they go operational. If, however, in the development phase, they decide it's not economically feasible, they do have the option to terminate the lease, in which case they would not have further obligation to us except for decommissioning and restoration of the ground and so forth, and would not have to pay the second $250,000. So that second payment of
That's how I
$250,000
understood it.
is contingent upon them going operational. And we have a bond to guarantee the payment in case they went operational and said, gee, we don't have enough money to pay you. We have a bond to cover that.
That's not how I understood it. I understood it
That's not how I understood it either.
that they would give us the $250,000, and regardless of what happened, that we would get the other $250,000. What would be the purpose of giving them any sort of help if we're?
That was my understanding as well. And apparently I misunderstood.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good deal for us.
Well, we get the $250,000 even if next month they decide they don't want to do it. The payment of $500,000, what we were doing is amortizing what we would have received over the length of a lease that was operational. If, on the other hand, they decide not to be operational, obviously the value is much less.
And Bill, if my memory strikes me right, that was part of the negotiation, was splitting the $500,000 into the two payments as they are now, to make the deal a little bit better for them up front.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we were supposed to be helping them and covering our own behinds.
Because the $500,000, the way I understood it, was for restoration of land down the road 20 years from now if
No.
no?
That's a
Okay.
separate
that's a
bond.
whole separate
Oh, okay.
bond.
My apologies on that part. but-
They have to keep money held in bond to
And also,
decommission this.
in the interim, the state has come along, and a law that went into effect on October 21st requires a DEP decommissioning plan to be approved, and we have a $150,000 bond. That's a separate bond
Okay.
for decommissioning. And that's the minimum. The state actually may require that they come up with a higher bond for decommissioning. It won't be less than what we negotiated. But that's a separate obligation to make sure if once they start earth moving, they have to have a restoration bond in effect in case 6 months later they decided, well, we don't really want to go forward with this, and they've come through and they've made piles of dirt and dug holes and so forth. We have a bond to make sure that the land can be properly restored. Completely separate from the operation of the facility if they actually go through with it. There's a development phase, and then, which is up to 2 years, and then they have to make a decision by the end of that, is this really worth it? And if it's worth it, it becomes operational. Regardless of whether it's operational or not, there is a restoration bond to make sure that when they're done, that the land will be properly restored. That's both required by this lease, and also now with a brand new state law required by the state DEP.
Thank you, Bill.
But all of that is separate from that $500,000. And that $500,000 was taking there was a talk about having them pay us so much per year, over a 20-year period. That was reduced to present value, and we came up with a $500,000 figure. But to pay us $500,000 requires them actually to go operational. Even if they just walk away 2 weeks after this lease is signed, we still have the $250,000, and we've got a bond to ensure that we get paid that second $250,000, and because this lease could be assigned to another party, and it wasn't satisfactory to the city to say, oh, we'll just have a promise from some entity which then sells the solar farm, and suddenly it doesn't have any money. We wanted to make sure that we would get, if they go operational, that we would get that second $250,000 payment.
Mhm.
And I have seen the original bond, and that will be delivered to Steve tomorrow.
Counselor Frankie.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Just be clear, Attorney Lee, this bond is an operational bond that is dependent on them going into operation. That's what the whole negotiation was about, is money that we would get over the course of the lease, but we're going to get it up front. But if it's not operational, then somebody else could come in and build the farm. That this company would just be completely out of the loop. So the city's actually ahead on this, whether they become operational or not. Am I?
Sure. The original idea was there was going to be a payment, sort of like a payment in lieu of taxes for each year, and and of course they could promise to do that, but that would be contingent upon it becoming operational. If during the development phase they decided to terminate it, and they have the right to do that, then they wouldn't have to pay us anything. What's negotiated is we get $250,000 up front, whether or not it ever becomes operational. But if it does become operational, then we get the second $250,000, and that gives us that $500,000 basically up front, gives us the monetary equivalent of a much larger amount that would be paid out at a much slower rate over 20 years.
Steve?
Yes. So it's good for us one way or the other. Is what I'm driving at. Is that right, Bill?
Sure. I mean, if we had said, hey, we'll lease this for 20 years, pay us $50,000 a year for those 20 years, or $60,000 a year, and then after the first year they decided to cancel it because it wasn't financially feasible, well, we wouldn't get any more money. In this case, we get the $250 up front that is ours to keep, and we'll get the second $250 if they in fact become operational, as well as a monthly per acre lease term, which has an escalator clause in it as well.
Oh, and that was the other point that I think we kind of passed through there, Bill, is that the payment that we're talking about is what would have been in lieu of taxes, because the state has made the solar farms tax-free. Am I following that correct?
Basically, yes. The state decided that the taxes that we would be able to collect from the installation of the facility, the value of the facility, was not going to be subject to taxation, but the state said that it would pay. It's supposedly going to pay us 1/2 of that value, and we basically got preempted in that area.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Counselor Green.
Yeah, as I recall, there's a time limit on when they need to be operational. Is that right?
It's about 2 years.
Okay. So if they decided not to go operational, then in 2 years, we would have the option to enter into a new arrangement.
We could lease it to somebody else if somebody else were interested. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
the lease would be terminated, but we don't give the first 200, the 250 we get paid, we don't give it back. We keep it.
we keep it, yeah. Okay. And then we still have the, we still theoretically can receive half of the tax payment from the state for the solar array when it's up and running.
Yeah. Unless the state changes its mind.
Right. Okay.
I mean, until whatever it was about a year ago, it was fully taxable, and then for whatever lobbying
Right.
purposes took place, and the state decided that we weren't going to be able to tax it, but to help us out, meaning the communities, that we'd get half the money back that we would have collected in personal property taxes.
So as of now, we stand to gain $250,000 as soon as we agree tomorrow. Monthly rent, $250,000 when it goes operational, and then potentially half of the tax value from the state as well.
Just trying to
Yes,
check it out.
that's my understanding.
It's not okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
What?
what's being discussed right now is not the intent that I had in the negotiation, nor the understanding that I had of how this was going to turn out. We were going to be paid about $1.6 million over the time of that lease, and I settled with them on $500,000. I think that's enough of a cut that we should be guaranteed the $500,000. So
Agreed.
if the council wants to vote this authorization, I would ask that you vote it with an amendment that the that the execution be done without condition.
Hold on. Can we bring Chad Jabazi in? I don't know who that is, but he's got his hand up.
Pardon me?
Chad Jabazi?
Oh, he's one of the Synergy people.
Well, here he comes.
Yes, hi, this is Chad Chavazi with Synergy Power. I've been listening in during this meeting. So just to give a quick background, we've been developing this project for over 2 years with the city and working with Bill Lee and Mike Roy, as well as Randy Marshall, and now with Mr. Daly. We're pretty much near the end of the development of the project. We have some year-end deadlines that we're trying to meet. And Bill and Steve and Randy have been great to work with over the last 2 years on this project. We're now at a point where we're ready to sign the lease. We're actually, there's already site prep that's occurring at the site, and you know, we intend to start building this project immediately, or pretty much immediately after signing the lease. So that the project will likely be done by the end of next year, and it'll be fully operational. So we fully intend on making both payments, as Mr. Lee and Mr. Daly have mentioned. So we're going to make the first $250,000 upon signing the lease, and then as soon as we're done and systems expect to be operational by the end of the year next year, the beginning of the year 2023, we'll make that second $250,000. So I just wanted to clarify that. There is no, we have developed over 400 projects that are operational in the U.S. None of them have ever defaulted, or we've never actually started the project on a project and not finished it and turned it on. So I just want to mention that that's in the 12, 13-year history of our company. The chances of the second payment not being made is minimal to almost none. And that's why we have the bond in place. Mr. Lee did a great job of negotiating that, same with Mr. Daly. So I just want to mention that. In addition to that, the monthly payments will be made, like Ms. Green and Mr. Lee and Daly have mentioned. And so I just want to make those clarifications since I was on the call, and I've been listening on the back and forth.
Appreciate it. Steve?
I think the guarantee of the second payment should be regardless of what happens.
Good.
I guess this is my concern. First of all, in the middle of a city council meeting is no place to totally renegotiate a contract.
We agree.
And so how there's been a misunderstanding here, I don't know.
Nor do I.
And so I guess I would ask Chad what he thinks the best way to move forward is. If the city manager wants to amend this, do you want to have a chance to talk about it some more? I assume you would have some objections to that because you would have negotiated something different in the first place. Chad, are you still on?
Yes, hold on 1 second. I'm just getting some clarification. If you can give me 1 second.
Yep.
You can almost table it.
You all right? You don't have to stay here.
Mr. Mayor, the council can always table this and take it up at the next meeting.
Let him talk to his people.
If you can just give me 1 minute.
No,
I'm
Chad,
just
you're
getting
you're
some-
good. Go ahead.
The chief's here to give.
No, he's not.
Should we move this back in the agenda and circle back to it and move on while this guy's working stuff out?
Absolutely. Can we?
I'll make that move.
Table it till he comes back, or we'll go to the next item.
Table it till he comes back.
Probably calls me.
Okay. Otherwise, yeah, they're gonna table it. So yeah.
No, we're only gonna table it till
No.
you're done having the conversation, Chad.
We're still bringing it back up tonight.
Okay.
Just till you get what you gotta get squared away. So that way we
Okay.
can conduct
Yeah, if
other
you could
business.
just give me a few minutes, then
Yeah.
I'll get it squared away.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
we're not.
Wait.
We're just moving on to another item until you come back. We're good for now. You'll be all right.
Move it until, I make a motion that we table it until Chad comes back with information.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Roll call, Patty.
Counselor DeBrito?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yep.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to Order 251, 2021.
An order to approve use of ARPA funds to support Operation Hope program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And Counselor Frankie, then Counselor Green.
are we just doing the 1 year 50,000 for the Operation Hope on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Green.
Yes, I just wanted to read a statement from the ARPA committee regarding this item and others.
Sorry to interrupt. I just received word from our team, from our CEO.
This isn't
So-
proper.
Going back.
So you have to wait, Chad. Chad, you
Hold
gotta
on.
wait a second.
Okay, sorry.
Counselor
I
Green is
apologize.
speaking.
I thought we were still on this matter.
No.
Okay, got it. Let me know when you're ready.
We're gonna pull a Jim Fasagi. We're gonna circle back on this one. Go ahead, Counselor Green.
Okay, yeah, so I wanted to read this statement because at our last meeting, there was quite a bit of concern that the committee hadn't met and hadn't really authorized us to go forward on these orders. So I just wanted to confirm that the committee has authorized that. So I'll just read the statement. Waterville's ARPA Spending Committee met for the first time on Friday, December 3rd, 2021. We passed unanimously recommendations to pass spending in the amount of $150,000 to replace lost public sector revenue, $50,000 to fund Operation Hope. We passed unanimously, with one committee member abstaining to vote, a recommendation to pass spending in the amount of $400,000 for emergency funds for the Mid-Main Homeless Shelter. Our next meeting will be held December 17th, 2021. We will be working on a process to invite applications and a rubric for grading applications for funds in coming meetings. So we will be soliciting other proposals once we formalize this process. And the abstaining member, I will add, had a conflict of interest, which is the reason for the abstention.
Thank you, Councilor Green. Any other comments, questions? Patty, can get a roll call.
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss.
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
I make a motion that we bring back Order 249, 2021.
Second.
All in favor? I don't
Aye.
roll call for that.
I'll do a roll call. Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, Chad.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt I didn't realize you had already moved on to another agenda item. So I did have a chance to speak to our CEO, Bill Pham. And yeah, our understanding was Bill Lee's interpretation, but we understand the concern with the city, from the city. We feel this project has very low risk in any circumstance of not moving forward. Like I mentioned, we're pretty much ready to begin construction of the project starting next summer. So we are amenable to that amendment as far as guaranteeing that second payment and having we already have the bond in place. It's actually, we've already sent a PDF version of it to Mr. Lee, and the original will be provided, I believe, to Randy Marshall. We're sending that via FedEx. So we're okay with that.
Steve, how would you like that added as an amendment?
As long as they're going to provide the bond, as we've talked about just now, and that they've agreed to, I don't think you have to amend the motion at all.
So, Chad, just so we clarify, we're going to get the 250,000 and the other 250,000 no matter what you do with this project.
Yes.
We should make that as an amendment, then. I'm gonna move that as an amendment. Just for clarification on paperwork.
Bill, what do you recommend for language?
I recommend doing that. It's going to require the reissuance of that bond, because that bond is written as I described it to the council a few minutes ago, just as the letter of guarantee is written that way as well. It says upon achieving commercial operations, then that second $250,000 payment will be made.
Well,
And
we're going to make the
bond references that, so you're going to have to redo that paperwork.
We're gonna make the payment. The payment bond is just a protection for the city. So we're not gonna invoke the bond unless we don't. Do you see what I'm saying, Bill? We're not actually. The bond is just a insurance provision for.
Right, but the bond references the agreement, the side letter, if I can call it that, and that side letter very clearly says the second payment of 200. I've got it right in front of me. I brought it up on my phone. The second payment is contingent upon actually becoming commercially operable. In other words, deciding to go forward after the development phase is over. And so since the bond refers to that letter and as the basis for triggering a payment,
Can I
that
point of-
letter will be,
I'm gonna
that
point of
paperwork's
order.
going to need to be redone.
I'm gonna point of order just for a
Yeah,
second.
you go ahead and make any revisions. you'd
I'm
like
going
to
to
the
point of order for a second. Do we need this? Can we do this sidebar and handle the resolution that's in front of us? The way
Good.
that we've been?
We don't need to do this right now. If you authorize me to sign the lease, I won't sign it unless these provisions are in place accurately.
Add it to the amendment then. I do need a second on that, though.
Our issue right now is we have year-end deadlines for this project, which we're running up against. And if we don't have this lease in place.
Chad, we're gonna get you in place.
Yeah.
Give us a second.
So what's happening
so
is we're gonna,
this project will go away.
Yeah,
So I
Chad,
think
we're gonna get you in place
Yeah.
before this meeting's over.
Yeah.
what we're going, it sounds like what we're gonna do is authorize the city manager to sign the lease contingent upon the change in language that we've just discussed. Am I correct?
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
second.
You got a second. So we're gonna do exactly, we're gonna take you at your word, Chad, that's how you guys want it, so we're good. You're gonna get it, he'll sign that over for you as soon as they vote on it.
Yes. Yeah, and Bill, if you'd like to make any changes to the letter agreement, we're happy to take that into review, and we can get that countersigned.
Oh, is that?
And
We're certainly
we
going
can-
to.
All right,
we
I'm
can
gonna
have
move
the
this to a
bond-
vote.
We can have the bond amended as well, language, so
Can you
that's
mute
not,
him?
that's not.
Point of order.
We're gonna vote on this now.
Thank you.
So can I just clarify that the amendment is a $250 second payment guarantee?
$250,000 second payment guarantee.
Isn't that what I said? $250,000. I said $250? What did I say? I don't even know. $250,000 second payment guarantee? And
Yes.
that you're authorizing the city manager to sign contingent upon that language,
Yes.
Fine.
okay? Okay, so this is the vote on the amendment.
Yep.
Counselor DeBrito?
Rebecca's
Yes.
got her hand.
Oh, sorry, Rebecca, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rebecca first.
It sounds like, Bill Lee was trying to say something. I just want to make sure we've heard the last word from him, since he's our attorney, before we go ahead.
I think Steve has stated it well. He can sign the lease, but we're basically keeping that lease in escrow until we have the bond language and the guarantee letter changed to reflect what we have discussed here tonight, which is that the second payment is in fact guaranteed and it will be paid by the date that the project's supposed to become operational, whether or not it becomes operational. In other words, it is a guaranteed payment.
Right.
As opposed to contingent upon the facility becoming operational. And we have a signed lease where we turn it over once we get the necessary changes in the guarantee letter and corresponding bond language.
Go ahead, Chad. You're
All
on
right,
mute.
I was on mute. We're okay with that. The only thing we asked, and maybe we can talk offline, Bill, is we have, like I mentioned, so it just may take time to get the revisions in place that are necessary. And so I'm just wondering if there's a way we can keep what we have in place now, and then we can follow up. We can sign the lease document, get you the $250,000, and then follow up. Have a mechanism in place to follow up with the bond. Because we just need to get those documents to various parties, stakeholders. We're basically at the,
Intent for lease.
it's basically, we're at the end of the line. That's all. Just want to throw that out there. So is there a way we can do it? Where we have what we have in place, and then we have, like for example, you can hold up
Yes.
construction of the project if we don't have the
Can I get a
documents
point
in
of
place
order?
for next
Yep.
week.
All right,
Can
we're gonna take a vote on this.
Look, my point of order is to the effect that we're discussing negotiations here on open Zoom, open city council meeting, taking up a bunch of time. There seems to be things are moving one way or the other. And I'm not for nor against, I'm for direction here, so that we don't waste everybody's time in negotiating a contract here out in the open and getting all the ducks in a row. At this point, I don't know if the amendment should go through, if it shouldn't be tabled for another 2 weeks.
If you table
So,
it,
I'm-
you can't finish it. Good, Steve.
I understand that.
As the city manager, I am your agent in this. I've negotiated this thing through to this point. I'll take care of it.
All right.
10-4.
Can I get a vote, please?
So we're voting on the,
Oh, sorry. Go
What are
ahead.
we voting on?
are we voting on the amendment?
Yes.
That's what's on the floor.
The amendment that is on the floor, we've got the $250,000 payment, and then they're gonna give us another $250 no matter what.
Guaranteed, and you authorize the city manager to sign contingent upon that.
Yes.
Yes.
Council DeBrito?
Yes.
Council Klepak?
Yes.
Council Green?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
yes,
Council Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I get a roll call, Patty?
Council DeBrito?
Yes.
Council Klepak?
Yes.
Council Green?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
yes,
Council Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Chad, thank you for that process. I just want to make sure that the residents of this city were going to get their money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, we're in with you all the way. And like I mentioned, it's been a great 2 years of getting this project to the point we're at now. And we're at the end of the development of the project, and they're excited to build this out next year.
All right. Thank you.
And
Have a
we
good,
appreciate Mr. Lee and Mr. Daly, and then Randy Marshall has been amazing to work with throughout this process.
have a good one, Chad.
Thank you.
All right. Order 252, 2021.
An order to approve use of ARPA funds to support a collection of housing-related initiatives.
Move to adopt.
Any
Second.
comment?
Second.
Rebecca, would you like to talk on this one?
Yeah, I'll just say, because there have been a lot of questions that have come up about this particular order. So I want to clarify that what the purpose of these funds is. It's $400,000 includes $155,000 for diversion, which will help people avoid homelessness by finding other solutions for them to keep them to keep them housed. And part of that is training to do this practice, which is a very successful practice that's been able to divert 20 to 40% of people from homelessness. And so the training will be for general assistance as well as KV CAP to provide the same service with the funds to provide these alternatives, such as a bus ticket to a relative or perhaps a 1 month security deposit to make sure that person gets into permanent housing. The other $200,000 is and $45,000 for a case manager for 1 year to provide support services to people placed in hotels, say by general assistance or KV CAP, in situations where that doesn't come with services. That is one of the things that came out of today's conference, that is critically important to help low-income persons to maintain their housing, and that was across the board. Everyone agrees that that's essential, especially in the short term. And then the $200,000 for a master leasing program, which would engage landlords in again helping to stabilize tenants in a secure renting situation. I see that Katie White is here on the call on Zoom. So I don't know if Katie wants to say anything further, but these are meant to be interventions that address the short term, right? So that we're helping people as soon as this passes to avoid being homeless, and it will extend for the next 2 years. These funds.
Eric.
I just want to be clear, Rebecca. These funds are earmarked for residents of Waterville who become homeless, right? Not just anybody.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes.
May I?
Yep.
Counselor Green, how, educate me how you're going to prove residency. Not that I don't think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong on the way that I'm asking that, but how do you propose that you're going to clarify residency of Waterville?
I'm
Well-
sorry, Counselor Green, before you answer that, I was gonna bring Katie in, because I feel like that's really a Katie question.
Sure.
I was going to suggest the same. Yeah.
Can we bring Katie White in, please? Oh,
Good evening.
and there's the hot seat.
There it is. Good evening, counselors and guests. Great question. I want to say this in terms of residency. We do this already for the city of Waterville in respect of the Haynes Fund. Those are also restricted funds that are targeted at Waterville residents. So this is a process that our staff is well familiar with. If you trust that process, I would suggest that as we deploy these funds, we would utilize a similar
Katie, take me through that.
past residential history.
She broke up. Katie, take me through that process and how you verify a resident as truly a resident of Waterville, not somebody that's come down from Bangor, say, and
Yeah.
is expecting to take use of these funds.
Yeah, so, and I will say this as well, we are working with the city of Augusta and working on a similar plan to address the balance of county by making a similar application to the county commissioners. So our goal is ultimately to be able to serve anybody, regardless of where they come to us in the county, but to use the appropriate funds and targeted funds in that way. One of the things that we do, and every case turns on its own set of facts, but one of our tasks is to help identify where people are from. So we look at a whole host of documentation, everything from their ID, what does their driver's license say? Do they have an immediate lease or any kind of other documentation that would establish residency? I think one of the challenges as we're talking about, and particularly in relation to establishing residency in Waterville, is there's no hard and fast rules other than the fact that if somebody has been homeless in Waterville for a certain, and it doesn't take very long, that would establish residency. But in the case of this, we're really looking at that long-term look-back period, not whether or not somebody has been homeless in Waterville for the previous day, but whether or not they've got a track record of residency in the immediate past that establishes their residency. One of the challenges with people experiencing homelessness, and I just shared this with you because it is the reality, very often they're leaving a crisis situation, so they don't come with a lot of documentation. Our job is to help establish that documentation. That's one of the roles of a case manager, is to help secure new copies of driver's license, social security cards, et cetera. But we're looking at the totality of the paper trail that people bring with them so that we can establish a residency within the city of Waterville.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie.
Any other questions? Oh, Counselor Frankie.
If I'm correct, isn't part of the program here to keep people from becoming homeless, which I think presumes that they already have a home? Am I missing something?
It's both and. So in the case of the diversion funding, that is really intended to prevent homelessness in the immediate days preceding the triggering event that will lead to homelessness, right? If we can put a stop to it, we want to prevent that episode of homelessness. Case management is really targeted at people who are currently homeless and are not eligible for other forms of case management, like a traditional or a more conventional main care reimbursement. Again, it can take time to establish those things, and the sooner that we put case management in place, the sooner we can help people work on documentation, apply for leases, and transition into permanent housing. And then the master leasing program, again, is targeted at people who are experiencing homelessness, but how quickly can we transition into permanent housing? That's part of the goal. So it's a both and. We want to prevent homelessness, and diversion is the best known way that we can do that in the short term. And we also want to transition people from homelessness to permanent housing as quickly as possible. So we're working on a multi-pronged approach.
Well, that begs the question in terms of the getting people into permanent housing. Is that going to be a benefit to landlords here in Waterville?
I'm really glad you asked that question. On one of the panels today, we had some landlords on that panel. And in fact, the master leasing idea was something that was endorsed by all of the landlords on that panel as something that they would really welcome. In particular, I think there is a perception that people who are exiting homelessness or are in receipt of rental subsidy are a riskier kind of tenant. And in the current market, there are so many people who are qualified market tenants. It makes it difficult for private landlords to select somebody with a subsidy relative to somebody who can pay over market rates. And so the master leasing idea really addresses those concerns of landlords. It forms a partnership between us as a corporate landlord and them as a private landlord who would like to do the right thing, but it also needs to make business sense. And this mitigates some of the risks that they're concerned of, and it provides the financial incentives that make it worth their while. So I would say, based on what we heard today and it wasn't just one, it was multiple area landlords who operate multiple units, that the master leasing in the short term, because we can't build our way out of a long-term crisis. How do we utilize the units that we have available currently? This seems to be an approach that is endorsed by private landlords.
Thank you.
And by every member of the ARPA committee that could vote. Any other questions? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Mayor, at this time, I'm going to ask for a 5-minute recess. I've apparently had way too much coffee and don't want to miss a vote.
All right, 5 minutes. We back? Oh, Claude's still MIA. There's that face. And Klepek, I can't believe you shaved the beard. All right, back in session. New business, Resolution 255, 2021.
Authorize issuance of a victualer's license.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepek,
Yeah.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Resolution 256, 2021.
Issue a secondhand license to Mandy Perkins, doing business as Thelma's Retail Therapy.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is Mandy here?
No.
All right. No free plug. Any discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepek,
Yep.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss.
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to Ordinance 257, 2021.
Amend the marijuana ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions? Counselor Green and then Counselor Frankie.
So I'm just wondering if we could get some clarification on the difference between a dispensary and a cultivation facility.
Patty?
My understanding is a dispensary is allowed to have several different uses under that license. So for example, they could grow some plants, they could sell plants, whole plants, they could,
Sell product.
right, sell product. So they can do different things under that one umbrella. The cultivation licenses that we have only allow for cultivation. And the retail
growing.
only allows for retail. So this is a new type of license that's only been allowed recently. And I think there's some taxation benefits that they can get, and also some banking allowances that they don't have currently. So a lot of the existing retail stores are contacting us for that dispensary license. So after speaking with the city solicitor about this, we decided to make it a separate licensing category and make it the same price as the retail license. It's still under the same footprint though, so you don't have to worry about a large grow facility going in, because it's the same square footage as the current licensed facility that they have, just retail.
Counselor Frankie?
So, if we approve this, and will that require relicensing for any company that wants to change its, or will they have dual licenses, or could you explain a little bit more?
It'll be relicensing. They wouldn't have two, there would be no need to have two licenses at one establishment. So they would relicense. If they choose to be a dispensary, they would relicense.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepek,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss.
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to Resolution 258, 2021.
Amend rates charged to municipalities for Waterville Police Department dispatch services.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we've discovered an error in the calculations on this and ask that the council postpone action on it to the next meeting.
I'll move to table that till next meeting.
Second.
Next regular scheduled meeting, should I say?
Second.
Thank you.
Can I get a roll call? Patty?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss.
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to ordinance 259, 2021.
Amend the animal control ordinance.
Move to adopt?
Second.
We have any information on this one?
This is just really a Scrivener's error where we changed the allowable number of dogs in a prior section of the ordinance. The older reference to 3 dogs still remain in a later section of the ordinance, so this
Okay.
will correct that error.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss.
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Order 260, 2021.
Authorize the transfer of ARPA funds to the general fund.
Move to adopt?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss.
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Order 261, 2021.
Approve the use of general funds.
Move to adopt?
Second.
Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Frankie.
well, it's pretty vague. It approves the use of general funds. What exactly are we spending money on?
Oh, I noticed that was on there. Steve, it's the, you just transferred the 150. We had discussed the retention bonus. How,
Yes. The amount involved here is $150,000. It will be distributed as premium payments to city employees in gratitude of their service during the COVID-19 state of emergency. It'll be distributed evenly among the 115 employees at $1,000 each. Police patrol officers and detectives who were out among the public constantly during that period will get an additional $500. Firefighter EMTs who are also out among the public in their capacity, especially as EMTs, will receive an additional $500, and any remaining amount will be equally distributed among existing staff.
Councilor Klepak.
So this was discussed and approved by the ARPA committee, correct, Rebecca?
Yes, and the reason for the adjustment was to be more aligned with the uses of the ARPA fund to really support lower paid workers who were on the front lines. And that is why, and this sort of basically distributing from the bottom up as opposed to the top down. So that there's more of a, so that it's not a pyramid with the highest paid employees getting the most bonus, but it really supports everyone across the board in this formula.
We worked hard on this one. It made it fair. We listened to what everybody was saying. I worked on this all week. This was a long one. We had the committee. They understood what was going on. This made it. Some people, depending on how the ARPA funds read, weren't essential, but who's to tell us who's essential in our organization? So one of the other things that this will do is the last 2 employees that were hired back in September, they don't qualify for the $1,000. They weren't here during that portion of the pandemic when we chose from when they initiated the state of emergency or the governor's state of emergency to the end of it in June. But the remainder of the little bit of money that is left over after everybody's gotten theirs, the 2 new hires will also get a couple $100 this year for being here during the pandemic and doing their job during this tough time. Councilor Klepak and Councilor Frankie.
Are we gonna be able to get these checks cut by the holiday?
We're going to call for a special meeting on Monday so that we can make one more vote on these 2 items, the last 2, so that checks that go out on the 16th, they'll get them before Christmas.
Monday's the earliest we can do that,
Monday's the earliest, I believe, without having to call like an emergency. It's just a special meeting.
and that's fine.
4 days, right?
Yeah.
Monday.
Yep.
And that'll be in line because they do payroll. I learned a lot. We do payroll Tuesday morning, real early. Got to
Yep.
get it in there.
I just want to make sure we don't fudge it up and,
Nope, I agree.
okay.
Councilor Frankie, sorry.
Well, Councilor Klepak asked my question. Thank you.
Anyone else? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor DeBrito,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
I'm leaving.
Yes.
I gotta go.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you, Jay.
All right. That was the last agenda item, right? Other
Correct.
than the executive session.
Counselor updates next.
Jay's excused himself, so I guess I'm taking over from here. Luckily, there's not much left. Are there any counselor updates?
If I may.
Counselor Foss.
The only question I had, or actually note that I want to make to you, Mr. Daly, is that I noticed Webb Road has, I think they're putting in a 3-phase. I don't know if that opens up the landfill for a better path, because I know that the landfill solar farm path to getting onto the grid was an issue. So with the 101 Webb Road solar farm going in, I believe they're putting a 3-phase in there, which would possibly, I don't know, I'm not a electrical engineer by any stretch of the imagination, may open up the landfill to a better path cost-wise to getting onto the grid,
We'll check into it.
just so you know.
All right, any other counselors? Seeing none, community notes. I'm looking at you, Paula, now.
No pressure.
They can't hear you if you don't go to the microphone, Paula.
Good evening.
That thought.
We all right? Okay. Paula Raymond, Ward 7, and I was a part of that conference today, that housing conference. And I just want to say that everybody that was there, it went really well. We had a lot of dialogue. We had professional people there. We had business people there. We had property owners there. We had city council people there. We had city admins there. And then regular people, just people that came in to either participate or just to listen. And from my own personal and professional perspective, it went really well. We have some action plans that we're going to look at. We have several notes, I'm sure, from each of us, I know for myself, that we're going to bullet and bring to our next committee meeting, which is next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And it is open to the public, and I wanted to announce that because we want to make sure that people still stay informed, but also stay active if they want to be active. It was very refreshing for me as an individual, as a native of Waterville and a native of the South End. So very pleased that the committee did what it did, and we're going to continue to move on. So just excited about it.
Thank you, Paula.
Make a motion to go in
Rebecca, Counselor Green.
I guess, yeah, I had my hand up earlier. Just one other note regarding the Housing Committee. We do have an opening on the Housing Committee. So if anyone is interested in joining that committee, you can submit an application on the city website, and I believe there are a number of positions open right now for boards and committees.
Thank you. Steve, do we want to push the executive session off until next week? So do we want to wait on the executive session until next week?
Then that's a motion to adjourn, I believe.
Yes, we were going to go into executive session, but I think we're going to wait on that until next week. So motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second. We'll see you all next week.
Right.